Hey, Tony, why did the console peasant cross the road?
Uh, to get to the other side?
To render the building on the other side. Oh, zing! I know, isn't it? It is good, isn't it? Someone in the comments Colt told me that one a few weeks back. That was good. I forget who it was, I'm sorry, but I credit you for this, whoever you are, you beautiful person. Hey, what's up, Slunts? Joker here. Welcome to a brand new episode of Slunt Tech. Today I'm going to be joined by Tony Mo from Tony Mo Gaming. He's sort of a YouTube gaming commentator, focuses on the PC mostly from what I've seen. Right, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff with Star Citizen. That seems to be a big thing over on your channel, as well as Arma, but mainly focusing on the PC, right?
Most definitely, yeah. A little bit of console stuff here and there, but PC's where it's at, let's be honest.
Oh, yeah, definitely. PC's definitely where it's at. But yeah, I found Tony in like about last week or so, came across his channel, and instantly I was drawn in because, you know, you have a nice intro, by the way. A really nice intro.
Yeah, a good friend of mine made that. He really put that together. Came out really nice.
Yeah, and I like the blue you use on that too. That's like a really nice blue.
I'm obsessed with that color.
I saw your t-shirt video, the official Tony Mo blue, you're calling it?
Yeah, it was like, hop on there, go to the Hanes.
It?
I'm just like, man, that's the blue. I need to get them to copyright that for me.
That is the blue. But yeah, I saw that, and then, you know, you got good sound quality and everything like that over there. And I come across so many, like, sorry to say this, fellow YouTubers, but there's so many crappy gaming channels out there. So to see someone that's actually going the extra mile to make a nice looking original intro that doesn't look like he just copied a Sony Vegas how to make an intro guide, like step by step, and the fact that your audio quality is good and, you know, you're well spoken and all that stuff. So I was drawn in by it instantly and subscribed, and I talked to him. I was like, we got to get him over here for an episode of Slunt Tech and collaborate. So definitely check out Tony's channel. I'm going to put a link down in the description below. And you got Facebook and Twitter, right? I'll put like your Twitter handle on
the screen. Yeah, I got a Twitter over there. I'm usually always bumbling about on.
Yeah, so you'll be seeing his Twitter handle on the screen. I'll figure out an overlay or something like that, and there'll be links all down in the description below. Alright, so now let's go ahead and get into the show. We're going to be focusing mostly on game stuff in this episode, as a lot of people have been asking me down in the comments to focus more on games. But you know, I've been doing the X99 build and the hardware stuff. But today we're going to be focusing mostly on games and a little bit of hardware. And we're going to start off by talking about VR headsets, because there's so many of them right now, and it's really hot in the news. And you've got everything from, you know, like the HoloLens and the Oculus Rift, Project Morpheus, and Valve now stepping into the arena with the HTC Vive. So there's a lot of contenders out there. And I'm really on the fence still about it, whether it's going to be, you know, kind of like the Kinect or the PlayStation Move, where it's just going to get tired in a year or two, or even not get picked up at all by most real hardcore gamers. Or if it's actually going to be a viable option and it's something we're going to be using for years to come, and will just become just a part of the gaming landscape in general that everyone's going to use. Tony, what would you say you're focusing on right now with the VR headsets? What do you have your eyes on the most?
I mean, I definitely have to say I'm going towards having a PlayStation 4, the Project Morpheus, just because my biggest concern, like you said, you know, is this going to go away the Kinect? When I look at VR, my issue is, you know, having the power to run these headsets at, you know, the right frame rate. I mean, I already have enough trouble running one game on one screen at one resolution sometimes. Now you're talking two screens, double the resolution. You know, you're going to have some serious horsepower unless they can do some hefty optimization. And because these are things you cannot let drop below that 60 frame rate. You know, it's going to start to look terrible. You're going to get a headache.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to pull you out of the experience, you know. So for me, it's like the Morpheus. I think that'll be my first stomping ground, my first test with it, because I know that's optimized on the PS4. I don't have to worry about buying new graphics cards and hardware, and at least I can get a taste of it. And then see if down the road, okay, if the Rift comes out, maybe it's worth dropping the money, get a second card, whatever I need to do to, you know, make sure that I can run it at solid frames when it comes to PC. But like you said, there's so many options. It's just really like ridiculous. Which one is going to come out on top. But at least at the end of the day, the competition, you know, it's only, you know, better for us.
Yeah, and the one that worries me the most is the one that people are talking about the most is the Oculus Rift, because it's been around for so long and people have been so involved with the development process since the beginning, and people are just saying, where is this product? When is it going to finally ever come? And I think that's a lot of that has to do with the fact that they made the announcement so early on, so people are now excited about it and they're just waiting, like, where is this thing? Where is it? So it's going to be interesting to see if they can actually, you know, nail it and get out a retail product, because I think a lot of them are probably trying to target before the holiday season this year. I mean, wouldn't you
Yeah, I
agree?
know Prometheus was saying early 2016, even like right after that. And now with the Rift, they just basically said, don't get your hopes up for 2015. So like you said,
Yeah.
they're technically the furthest behind, but maybe that's because they've also been like the first people to dive into the tech, and now everybody else is kind of like, oh, I see what they're doing. Let's do this, let's do that, which is a positive thing.
Yeah, and they're learning
sharing
from their,
ideas.
Yeah, and they're learning from their mistakes because they're basically able to pick up where they left off and just keep building on it rather than starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be interesting to see, and like you were saying with the performance aspect, it's definitely gonna be important to have the constant frame rate, because VR it's not just another peripheral. It's not just another way to look at games. It's going to be about a complete immersion. So if you're being immersed in an environment like that and things start happening like screen tearing or hitching, frame rate drops, delay and lag, then people are not going to put up with that, because it's going to instantly just completely take you out of the experience, and you're going to be like, this is not worth my time. And that concerns me. Also, if people are going to get it, and then if the first time they use it, if it's going to be a really bad implementation of it, and then they're going to be turned off of VR forever, because I want to try all of these, but it's probably not going to be feasible, as I don't really see Best Buy just having a whole row of VR headsets one day. But I don't know, maybe they will. Maybe you'll be able to go to Best Buy and they'll have
maybe we'll make it there. I mean, that'd be awesome. I think that's one good thing, like you're saying, people having a bad implementation, is that at least they're going through so many different builds. Like the Oculus is on there, like their 4th development build now. And that is the one really positive thing, is that usually, like in the past when we've covered really weird things like this, like the Kinect and the PlayStation Move, it's the one time where the press is really straightforward, like, this sucks. I played it, it was terrible. And then, we've gotten it, and it was like, yeah, that's pretty much the case. But you see so many other YouTubers out there, so many other people who have had the chance to mess with these VR, and they've just come away impressed, albeit the small issues we talked about, things like a little bit of latency issues. Sometimes the headset was too heavy, but, those are issues that everybody seems to be targeting and cutting down, because just a lot of positive, positive results coming from people actually having a chance to experience these headsets.
Yeah, and those issues you mentioned there are like pretty much the big glaring ones that they're gonna have to fix before they start rolling out retail versions of the headsets.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's their main focus right now. Is just getting all that sorted out, and also getting games developed for them. I know the one I'm probably most excited for, that we've seen the most of, really, I guess, is Adrift. That space game. It kind of looks like the movie Gravity, but
that looks gorgeous.
It's like, the graphics. What is that? Is that Unreal 4 engine? Or is
it's Unreal 4.
Yeah,
it's stunning.
Yeah, that would explain why. It just looks fantastic, and I'm a complete space whore. Like, I just watched Interstellar last night. Gravity was great. I mean, space is big right now in films and media. It's really making a comeback, I guess, in popularity.
Yeah, coming back in games, big time. Especially, it's nice to see more space games. It's such an untapped genre the last 10 years.
Elite Dangerous, all that stuff. It's definitely out there in the forefront, and it's exciting, and something that most people will never do in their lifetime, actually go into outer space. And to be able to actually think about doing something like that with a VR headset where you could be totally immersed in that environment is it sounds absolutely incredible. And I really want to experience it. I had a friend that was telling me about, he tried an early development kit of Oculus Rift and the mall, actually. And basically all the demo was you were basically riding around in a rocket in outer space, and it just like went around the solar system or something, or around the Earth maybe. But he said it was incredible, just like jaw-dropping experience, even though it was completely on rails. But I just want to experience that in my lifetime, hopefully.
Yeah, there's so much more, beyond games, like you're saying, just even film in VR.
Yeah.
Just just basically having an out-of-body experience. Taking yourself somewhere that you couldn't maybe afford to go, or that you'll just never be able to see in your lifetime. There's just a lot of promise for that. You can see why everyone is so excited for VR.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've been waiting for proper VR since Lawnmower Man. I remember watching that as a kid and was like, man, those graphics look amazing. Now you go back and look at it, that looks terrible.
I don't know if you remember the Duke Nukem that they used to have at like fairgrounds. It was Duke Nukem 3D when it was big, but it was a VR version. You walked on the treadmill, and it was that was my big memory of it. It was so horrendous looking back at it, but at the time it was like, oh, this is so cool,
Yeah, it was definitely cool at least for its time.
Yeah,
I guess better than the Nintendo Virtual Boy. That thing was horrible.
Yeah, and anything better. Anything's
you put
better
it
than
on and
Virtual
just instantly
Boy.
have your retinas burned. It was just black and red. Like, oh, this color scheme is going to work, guys. Let's push this out for the holidays in 1992. You know, so it totally worked. Everyone wants to look at black and red pixels 2 inches from their eyes.
Terrible, terrible.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they get it. Hopefully they get it down a little bit better. But moving on now from the VR headsets, getting into some of our gaming news today. Wolfenstein: The Old Blood, which is a sort of a standalone deal. They're calling it just a standalone, but it's really like a DLC that they're basically making available to everyone. And I think the reason for that is they want to basically be able to sell it to more people, because in case you didn't buy Wolfenstein, you can go ahead and buy The Old Blood. For $20, you could pick that up and you could just have that and not have to have bought the base game for $60 when it came out or whatever. And it's a prequel. I think it looks interesting. I really enjoyed The New Order. It was probably the best Wolfenstein I've played since Wolfenstein 3D. It was, the reimagining of the franchise that I've been wanting since I was a kid, because Wolfenstein was like the first game I ever played on PC. So yeah, seeing that come back around like this it just makes me giddy. So, and it's a beautiful looking game too. So that all that helps.
I I keep telling people to play The New Order. I have so many people who almost everyone I know, everyone over in my gaming community, they haven't even touched it. They're like, no, it's just, I'm like, dude, you have to play it. Like, it was such a shocker. I was so just taken in by the story. It's the first time in a long time that I've played a game of that length in, like one sitting. Like, sat down and just over the course of 3 days did nothing, just forgot about everything else in life, eating food, and was like, all right, I'm playing The New Order. So I'm stoked just for there to be like a $20 option for them to check out the story. Like you said, it's a prequel. They don't even need to have played The New Order. And now The New Order is like $40. It's always on sale. So it's like you technically could get The New Order plus the prequel if it ends up being, worthwhile for the price of the full game. And you just, you have a whole new bit of Wolfenstein to enjoy once again. Which, like you said, it's been such a long time. I mean, that the last Wolfenstein we had, which was, it was all right.
It was. I enjoyed it. Hey, it was the one made by was it Raven Studios or something?
Yeah, Raven Studios. I thought it had some good touches, and it hit on a lot of the stuff that I've always liked to see in Wolfenstein, like the weird occult, kind of weapons.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I mean, The New Order was definitely the best reincarnation, like you said, since 3D easily.
Yeah, it was like one of the best reboots to a franchise I've seen in recent memory. In a time where the reboots are become commonplace, like. Practically every few months we're seeing some franchise get rebooted in some way.
Yeah, some half-assed manner usually.
Yeah, and like besides like the new Tomb Raider, I would say this is the best reboot that I've played of any franchise, and it was great. Although everything was good about it. It had good story, good characters, good fun combat, amazing graphics. It had everything. It touched all bases. Didn't try to do anything beyond its reach. Didn't try to be something that it wasn't. They didn't try to add in multiplayer to just tack it on to just as another checkbox on the list. Like, yep, we got multiplayer. Yep, we got co-op. No, it was just a good single player game, and I was happy to pay $60 for it. You can actually get it now on like G2A for like $15-$17. So for a game like that to be able to get it that cheap is just ridiculous. And I'm looking forward to playing The Old Blood, definitely, when it comes out on May 4th, actually the day after my birthday. So maybe a birthday present I could ask for.
I'm definitely excited for that. I mean, I like, too, the idea of just the standalone $20 expansion. You were, when we were talking about this earlier, you were mentioning, Far Cry, Blood Dragon, and it was like, that was another prime example of, I know it's kind of a different story. Their dev went out and just, like, tripped on acid and came up with this ridiculous idea, but...
It was good, though. It worked out. It worked out.
Exactly. It worked out. It was different. That's exactly right.
But but the fact that they even made that a standalone, but 5-6 years ago, that would have just been considered an expansion, not a DLC, but a proper expansion. And before that, even though they called it a standalone, but I still consider it an expansion. The last proper expansion like that I played was like Awakening for Dragon Age Origins and like Ballad of Gay Tony for GTA 4. Those were like the last expansions I played in for years.
Yeah, I think we need to get back to that. I mean. Like, it's fine in all the DLC, but it's like, I think that's, like you said, it's a fine line what represents DLC and expansion. And the expansion, it's purely down to the length and the amount of content you get for the amount of money you're paying. And like you said, Ballad of Gay Tony was massive, man. Yeah. They added all this stuff into GTA 4, even the Lost in the Dam, entire different story, entire different multiplayer they even took the time to create. And they charged you like next to nothing for the thing, for what you got out of it.
Yeah, and it just extends out the life of the game, and just more people wind up buying the game because it just reinvigorates excitement about the franchise and the title and everything. So it just brings around more people to even playing it to begin with. So
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of, just while we're on the topic of these expansions, the Bad Company Vietnam expansion.
Yeah, that was a great one as well.
It's just, we don't get stuff like that anymore, and
that was
I don't know.
That was the last thing I saw, something that ambitious for multiplayer, where it's like, yep, we're not just going to put out a map pack, we're going to put out maps and weapons and vehicles and skins and everything. Everything was completely different. It was great, and it was, for like $15, $20, whatever it was when it came out.
Yeah, I think it was 20. It was,
but it was
not
totally
much,
worth it. It was totally
for you
worth
to be playing multiplayer, for probably 100+ hours in a completely new setting. It was awesome.
Yeah, and you can see why people complain about, DLCs like a Battlefield 4 DLC charging $15 just for a couple maps and maybe like 2 weapons, where I would gladly go out and shell out like $20, $25, $30 maybe if they were to do like a BF4 map pack that was like World War II themed and maybe came with like 5 or 6 maps. I would gladly pay almost half of a full game's value for that.
Yeah, I think like that's definitely one of the big things between expansion and DLC is these DLCs, it's like, they're trying to sell as DLC when the game itself is, in a way, essentially already DLC. I mean, Battlefield 4 is really a direct continuation of 3. Yeah. Nothing new there, same setting. It's like, when we want an expansion, we want something different. We want a new place to explore. It's like Blizzard with WoW, They're trying to give you a new world to go see, new stories to tell, and that's really what we want at the end of the day. If you're going to expect us to drop, $20 of our hard-earned cash.
Yeah, and they achieve that, and that's, why WoW is, traditionally been such a stable platform. Is because they put out a good game years ago and they're just expanding on it now and adding on to it. Even though the last DLC had some issues at launch, but for the most part, I mean, WoW is pretty stable, I think, at this point, since it's been out for so long.
Yeah, it definitely has a continuously large player basis. No matter how many millions they drop off, there's still like X amount of millions more still playing it,
Yeah, and more new people coming on all the time.
Yeah, I just resubbed recently because of that expansion,
Yeah. And then you see how bad it could be when they try to do new things, like with going from Battlefield 3 to Battlefield 4 was, arguably kind of just a really hyped up DLC, but they tried to do enough where, they had so many issues trying to get out the new game, and they're just now getting it into a playable state, a year and a half later, and they're getting ready to come out with another DLC, Battlefield Hardline. Yeah, that's a DLC. Let's put that.
Hey, I mean, look, so many people have said it, and it's so true. If it was on PC and this was Battlefield 2, it would have been a mod.
Oh yeah, it would have been. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's good. I'm gonna be playing it for sure because it looks great. And I had a lot of fun playing in both betas, and I play hundreds of hours of every Battlefield game. So, I mean, it's worth it to me to get it. But they're calling it a game when they should call it a DLC. I don't care what. I mean, I prefer they call it
an expansion, just like they did Vietnam.
Yeah, they could call it an expansion and charge $50. It's fine. Just call it what it is.
Yeah, they just wanted that money. Now they got a whole new game with a whole new premium package. So you can pay $120, and it's just that's where it got me. It's like like you said, I actually had a lot of fun with it. I played the beta, I really did. But for me, it was just like for someone who isn't so into Battlefield like I used to be anymore. It's just like I'm just gonna finally pick up premium for 4. And keep playing that rather than make the jump, because it's just, for me, it's just not a feasible thing. As much as I enjoyed it, I just, I can't justify it for the amount of time that I'll put in.
But hey guys, it's okay because they threw in like a 4-hour campaign. I don't know how long it is, but I'm guessing it's probably short.
I forget that's even in there, It was like with 4 and 3, I was like, booted it up, ran 10 feet, shooting gallery, and was like, all right, I'm out. Let's go play multiplayer.
I've completed all the campaigns. And they gave you incentive in 4 because you actually unlock the weapons. It's like
that's right, you did get guns and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm mildly looking forward to the story in this one, only because it's being done by Visceral, who did the Dead Space games, and I'd like to see if they can get back to being as good as they were in Dead Space 1 and 2. Although I don't really have a lot of hope, being that it's in the Battlefield universe. The campaigns are usually just like, that's like the tacked on extra, whereas like other games will have a good single player and the tacked on multiplayer. Well, this is like the exact opposite.
And they're so hooked too on riding like the cinematic bandwagon, because of how well Call of Duty's done that. And
it's like half of it's on rails.
Yeah, exactly. And that just really is not Battlefield at all. I think they should be trying to capture, the same experience that Bad Company did. Bad Company recognized, let's try and make this feel like a sandbox game,
Yeah.
And bring what we've done so well in the multiplayer to the single player, because people will feel comfortable and will be able to tell a story at the same time, and it'll just be great. And it was.
Yeah, and they try to make it look like this thing is like a sandbox, because like you approach an area And it's kind of like Crisis in a way, where it's like you get to an area and like, oh, you can do stealth, or you could snipe these guys, or you can run and gun in there, or you not kill anyone or whatever, and you got all these options. I was like, yeah, but it's still just segmented into that one area.
Yeah, very much like Crisis 2.
I can't go drive around the city and go fight bad guys. You know, that would have been fucking awesome.
That would have been
open world cops and robbers game. People would have been like, "Whoa, really? Battlefields? Really?"
Yeah, that'd be a step up. That'd be more than a 3-year development cycle. That's for sure.
It would have been awesome though. Just
it would have.
Ideas for the next one, guys. Ideas for the next one.
Yeah, take notes over there.
Yep.
Give us something fresh.
Yep. Moving on to our next gaming news story, we've got Rainbow Six Siege, which is a game I'm sort of excited for. The gameplay we saw looked good, but then again, so did Assassin's Creed Unity and Watch Dogs. So just the fact that it's a Ubisoft game has, you know, it's making me tentative at best. Yeah.
Not to mention, I mean, let's look at the history of what was once Patriots, and that just, I mean, there was a point in the development of Patriots, the game disappeared, it came back, and the CEO of the Ubisoft studio that was working at the game at the time said that they brought on a group of team to test the game and decided that it wasn't what they wanted, and they wiped the entire thing, and now we have Siege. And that's rocky road. I can't imagine any developer still involved, how bitter they have to be about all the time that they spent, years of their life, working on Patriots, just to be like, crumble it up like a piece of paper, throw it over your shoulder, here's the new project. That's got to be frustrating. That really genuinely has. But like you said, I mean, it looks good. My issue is, have you seen Due Process? It's that indie game that is kind of doing the same sort of thing. You basically have two factions, the bad guys and the SWAT. And you know, one team sits in the back of the SWAT van. They can plan and draw on the screen. And then they actually go in and they rush the building. And at the same time, you have the bad guys trying to defend it. So it's that same setup, but there's this so much more openness to it because they're doing like full destructibility, where Siege is like, okay, you can break down walls and floors in these specific doors. This game's like
scripted.
Yeah, you know, it still has some scripted elements, whereas Due Process is sort of like, yeah, you want to blow a hole in that wall, that's just, you know, that random wall, go right ahead, just blow a hole in it, and then breach to there, breach through here. It's really early on, but it's like, if that comes out on PC, you know, and it's only like $20, and there's mod support, which is, to me, one of the biggest issues that Siege might have, is no mod support. That game's just going to have a much longer lifespan, and I could easily see people going over there. You know, granted, it won't be on console, but that's, I would definitely check that out. You know,
yeah, I will. I'll definitely look into it. I haven't heard of it, but now it sounds pretty good. But back on to Siege. Like I was saying, I'm a little bit hesitant about the whole game just because of the fact, you know, like you were saying, with the fact that it was Patriots and now it's another game. So they've had a rocky development cycle, and also the fact that it's Ubisoft, who completely lost my trust in 2014 with Watch Dogs and Unity. But I'm happy that they're doing an alpha test like this early on, so that we can actually get a crack at it, and maybe they can have a chance to fix any issues if there are any issues. So that fact it just excites me that they're going to be working on it, and also that I'll be able to test it out and say right away, you know, way before it even comes out, like, yeah, this is not really that good of a game, and I'm not really looking forward to it anymore. So I'm just looking forward to trying it out and testing it for that aspect. And I give them credit for at least, you know, trying to get people involved in the process. And they said in their trailer where they announced that they were really open to being interactive with the community. So it remains to be seen how much they're going to live up to that and actually interact with people on forums and take the advice that they're given to fix the game if there's any issues. So it's gonna be interesting to see, to say the least.
Yeah, they've been good, actually, because if you follow them on their Twitch stream, I don't know what the hell the stream actually was, but I've been following them. I kind of stopped because they were just showing, like, they were actually playing the game a lot, and I was like, all right, I've seen enough of it now, I'm just, like, waiting to play it. But,
yeah,
you know, they were doing a ton of live streams for the game, and that was really nice just to see the team actually playing it, you know, showing us new builds, and just like, yeah, we're playing this, we're playing that. I don't think they've kept up with that, and I wish they would have, because that's not something you often see in the AAA industry. And like you said, at least it's good to see alpha tests. And it's just a free alpha test, you know? Yeah. I mean, you have so many companies going here like, yeah, buy into this package and we'll let you play in the alpha if you spend $100, and then beta access is $50. Now it's just like, no, well, we just want to get a group in. We want them to play it. We need some outside opinions. And that, like you said, that's classic. That's old school. And I love that. And hopefully it just bodes well for the game.
Yeah, it seems like they're actually sort of almost taking a page out of the book of Visceral with what they're doing with Hardline to try to remedy how bad BF4 was, and being open with the community and taking all the feedback and trying to apply it into the game. And it seems like they're doing something similar here. So I think it's just great overall for the industry and for the consumers to be able to have this level of interaction with developers and give our feedback to hopefully see some of those fixes brought into the game and new ideas brought around that people actually want to see.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just nice, like you said, in general, to see devs communicating like that. And it's a great example with Hardline, because when I played the Hardline beta, it felt good. I was kind of surprised, you know. I was expecting everyone's going to be playing this beta, and I'm just going to have, like, endless connection issues. And I ran into very minimal concerns while playing the beta. So, you know, hopefully it's already paying off for them, because that was their second beta, too. You know, running 2 betas, and running a beta, and then not announcing that the game is gold at the same time, much like Evolve did, which never makes sense to me. How'd you just finish printing the discs if we're testing the beta? Day 1 patch, I guess.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see that. But moving on now from Siege, also so we got some news out of Titanfall. They just announced they're making their DLCs free on the Xbox One and Xbox 360 and the PC. I played Titanfall when it first came out, and that was about all I played of it was when it first came out. I played it for like 2 days. And it had performance issues on the PC when it came out. Didn't support SLI out of the gate. Only did 60 hertz. There wasn't a ton of people playing it, and also I just didn't like the fact that it had so many bots in the game. So there was just a lot of hurdles for me to overcome as I was trying to play it, and it just turned me off of even wanting to try. And then eventually when they did come out with SLI support and the fixes later on, I think I popped it back on for like a few minutes, and I was just like, yeah, but it's still got like 100 bots in the match, and I'm running around getting like 50, 60 kills, and then I look at the scoreboard, and I've got like 2 kills because everything I killed was a bunch of bots. And it's not my flavor of game. I prefer something that takes a little bit more skill to play. But I know you were telling me earlier that you kind of enjoyed it for that aspect because of the bots.
Yeah, I thought it was, it was something different, especially having played just so many Twitch shooters growing up with Quake and Unreal and, Counter-Strike. It was like this nice change of pace, and I loved the world. I think that was the big thing for me. It was a nice place to be. I loved like the wall running mechanics and all the little elements they threw in. That just made it fun. It was definitely, like you said, it felt less skill-based. It felt like it was more team-based and less individual skill-based, which was one of the reasons I liked it, because I have a friend who's not really good with Twitch first-person shooters, and he had a lot of fun with that. It was nice to see him not really being so down on himself for not, having the same level of skill as myself and our other friends that we play with, and just to see him having a good time enjoying the game. But yeah, the DLC thing, I guess it's their 1-year anniversary just passed, so they dropped the DLC for free, and I mean that's a big uproar for a lot of people. Interestingly enough, I didn't purchase the DLC. I hate season passes. I usually avoid them like the plague, and it was the same thing. I was perfectly content playing the initial maps, and by the time the first DLC dropped, I had put like 200 hours in the game, and I was done with it. I was like, all right, moving on. But I just bought the DLC 2 months ago for $5 for the season pass, which isn't really a loss there. $5 went to them, whatever, it's free now. But I think the big discussion is that an okay thing? Bungie did this with Halo 3, where they used to launch a DLC, launch a map pack, it'd be like 4 maps. Their DLCs were like $7. Or you could wait 4 months and the DLC would then become free. The idea being that if you really played the game, you didn't mind giving the dev the money, you'd pick up the DLC. But if you were somebody who kind of had faded out, you might be drawn back in, by the free DLC. And I think that's the big thing with Titanfall. Their player base is, like you said, I mean, it dropped pretty quickly when a lot of people realized it wasn't this magical reinvention of the FPS. It was just an FPS with some unique little mechanics. And now they're trying to get people back in, and robots, of course, is a big draw.
Yeah, Call of Duty with robots, basically. That was basically the ignorant stance looking at it early on, and unfortunately, it kind of lived up to that.
Yeah,
That's how I saw it. But like you were saying with the free running stuff, I thought they nailed all that stuff great. I thought, as far as in a competitive game like this, I thought they had some of the best free running mechanics that I've seen with the double jump boost packs and all that stuff, and the wall running. I thought it all worked absolutely great, and I would have liked to see more of just that. Like just pilot versus pilot like that, with no Titans and no AI on the battlefield at all. I thought that would have been a good game just like that, or at least a mode like that. I know they did a pilot versus pilot, but it still had bots, didn't it?
Yeah, they still kept the bots in it. I think they ended up they started doing these weekly game mode releases, like in the beta version that they launched.
Yeah.
And they would put it out, and they did put out a mode like that. I think it's still hanging around, but it's, I mean, like you said, it's so late after launch.
And no one plays it on the PC.
People wanted that at launch. Yeah, you know, they wanted it at launch and they didn't get it. And I can understand, you know, Respawn looking and saying, but this is what we've created. We want people to play this. And they're concerned that maybe had people had that other game mode, they would have all flocked to that. But at the same time, maybe all they did was alienate, you know, a large portion of their player bases that would have stuck around. So I guess that's a mistake that they can't really go back on. Who knows what would have actually happened. Yeah,
well, it'll be interesting to see what they're going to do going forward, and if Titanfall 2 is going to be a thing. I don't think is it confirmed yet, Titanfall 2?
Yeah, they did. They said it is in development now, and it's coming out on all platforms. And Respawn also said if they could go back, they wouldn't have done exclusivity. And I thought that was funny because to me, day one, I was like, that's a mistake. You guys are a brand new studio, albeit you have good street cred. Brand new studio launching your first game, and it's an exclusive on a brand new console, you know, and then with PC, who is, I mean, let's be honest, you know, as PC guys, we have so many other options. You really need to draw us in. Yeah. If you want us to play your game. There's a million other things we can go do. So if you're going to bring something to, you know, PC, it better be special.
Yeah, well, how do you think they got the money to make the game they wanted? By making it exclusive.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely needed the funding, I guess. And
yeah, brand new studio after they all left Infinity Ward and everything was because of the shit with Activision.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's good to see they launched the game.
In that situation.
Yeah, and it's good to see at least they have a sequel coming, you know. What would be worse is if the studio then, you know, announced to close down like everybody recently. It's just shutting down all over the place. But Joker, real quick, what are your thoughts though on the idea of DLC, you know, being free after like a certain amount of time?
I mean, I think it's definitely a good from a business standpoint, because when the game maybe goes on sale in the future, like if it comes, like they have sales all the time. I think they had a sale at one point. Titanfall was like $5.
Yeah, they've made it ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, so if they do a sale like that again, you could pick up Titanfall for $5 and get free DLC, and the DLCs are all free. Then that's a pretty good deal, you know, despite what you think about the game. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of it, but for $5, as long as there's people still playing, because that's the only issue I've run into trying to get on it, is that pretty much everyone is just playing TDM and all the other game modes are just completely dead.
Yeah.
So if there's people still playing it and the DLC is free, I think it's a good thing. As far as whether, you know, alienates people that already had bought the game, I bought the DLC, you know, a while back. Like when I got the game, I think I paid $10 extra for the season pass to be bundled with it, which wasn't a bad deal. Even though I never really played it, but if you were going to play it, then it is a good deal, I suppose. But you know, this makes it so now that everyone can play together, so it's not going to be separating the player base, the limited player base that it still has at this point. So if you know if your friends have the DLC and you don't, then you're not going to be forced to have, you know, they're not going to be forced to have to like play non-DLC maps with you, and you won't get separated from them. So I think it's a good thing overall. I don't really see too many negatives because of it being free now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess unless you really wanted to be bitter just because you had paid for it. Like you said, no harm, no foul. And if I was an active member of the community who had bought it, I'd be happy because, like you said, increasing the player basis once again, possibly getting more people back in matches, more game modes opening up. So.
Yeah, and it wasn't that much to begin with. I think the season pass.
Yeah, like you said, it was
only like $20, I think, by itself. But I got it bundled with the game for an extra $10.
Yeah,
so
they
even
made
at $20,
really
that's not that much of a loss. It's not like if Battlefield 4 did it, like, and made all the premium DLC free right now, people would be raging. There would be fucking rage.
That's a lot of money. That's for sure.
That's a lot of money I feel like you just threw it out the window. Like, oh, I just paid $50 for premium. Oh, well, it's free now for everyone. Do I get a refund? Nope. You sure don't.
That would be rough.
Yeah, it would. All right. So moving on to our last gaming topic before we get to a little bit of hardware news before we close out the podcast. We're going to be talking about game delays. There's been a lot of game delays going on in like the last 6 months or so. Obviously, GTA 5 is the one most people are probably thinking about. Witcher 3 got pushed back a couple times. Project Cars now recently was supposed to come out in a couple of weeks, I think, and now it's been pushed back into May. And then also Battlefield Hardline. If you remember, that was supposed to come out last year around the holiday, and then they pushed that back, and it's coming out now in March. So all these games have been getting delayed, and they're all getting ready to come out now in the next 2-3 months. That's pretty much the big games that I'm looking forward to most, are the 4 I just mentioned there, and they were all delayed. So it's going to be interesting to see if it was for the better, if they're going to actually get out better quality titles. I know a lot of people are still joking about GTA, like, is the game ever even going to come out? Hopefully it does. Hopefully it runs well. and hopefully the delays bode well for, you know, the quality of what we get at the end, especially on the PC with performance optimization, and things like that. How do you feel about it?
I think delays? The GTA one, I mean, to start with, is great because as somebody who's been playing it on console and had the Xbox One port, trust me, you PC guys, you want to wait as long as possible for this thing. If it means that you can avoid the load times that you have to deal with. Luckily, it's an open world game, so you have like that one initial load time, but server connection issues have been terrible. I don't know what they're doing with their servers over at Rockstar, but they definitely need to get something happening with that, especially because I believe it's going to be the same way on PC. I mean, these are all... The way the online works is it's just ran on their servers as like a persistent thing. So yeah. I just hope that delay does well. I think that Rockstar really doesn't want to disappoint the PC community because they see the love that the game, that GTA 4 still gets mods just everywhere for that game. People still playing it online. All those ridiculous stunt videos you see on YouTube. I mean, there's just a huge community for that game, and I think they definitely don't want to disappoint. I'm usually just always a fan of game delays because in the past, games used to get delayed all the time. I remember waiting like 4 delays for Halo 2, and when it came out, it was like the holy grail of console FPS. So if that's what that means for, like, you know, The Witcher being like this amazing RPG because of delays, I'm all for it, you know. Yeah. Delay it, as long as it ends up being good in the end. I think normal delays like this, you know, they're fine. It's like when you start talking about Duke Nukem. Being in development for 13 years,
canceled,
you know,
and put back out, and canceled,
different studios, and then just picked up for the sake of being picked up and launched as a husk of what it once was.
I think maybe a lot of people are kind of worried only because the last game I remember that got a big delay was Watch Dogs, and that still didn't come out any better. And I don't even want to give Watch Dogs any more dedicated time. It's because it was such a disappointment.
It's just like, you know, I was so excited for the world. You start playing it, and then in a couple hours in, you realize, like, man, this is just like every other open world game that Ubisoft has ever made.
And there's really stale. This content was just stale and boring.
And there was not a lot there to love. It was very disappointing. Not to mention that, you know, Ubisoft pretty much slapping us all in the face with that visual downgrade of the game. I mean,
and it didn't even perform any better.
The performance was terrible. I mean, I have a decent rig, and I was having serious trouble with that game when it came out, because I ran AMD. I still can't run that
game at a solid 60. I still can't.
It's just that was a big disappointment. So I guess I could see, you know, people's concern about delays. At least it's like the games that have been delayed, you have pretty good backgrounds for their overall quality. You know, when it comes to the actual games themselves, you know, Rockstar generally makes, you know, really great games. I mean, I can't remember the last time they dropped something that was just like, I'm not touching that, you know.
Yeah, it's been a while. The worst one in recent memory was LA Noire, but even that was still a good game. I just didn't really care for it that much.
It had its, you know, it's had its caveats. You know, it had some good things to it, for sure. You know, it wasn't a complete mess. So, yeah, I mean, The Witcher is like... I'm hearing so many mixed things about The Witcher that I really can't wait to get my hands on it because I'm convinced that CD can't make anything bad, and that's probably a terrible thing to be convinced of.
Yeah.
But I really want that game to deliver. You know, I really want it to remain The Witcher and to hit all those, you know, great spots while being also this wonderful open world RPG.
Well, CD Projekt Red is in such a unique position because they basically are, even still at this stage, they're still an indie studio. They're publishing and developing their own game, and they have complete, you know, creative freedom over their title, so they could take as much time with it as they want. They could do whatever they want, and up to this point, that's worked out for them because they've put out nothing but good games. Witcher 1 was really, really good, and then Witcher 2 just was mind-blowing. One of the best RPGs ever.
The evolution between 1 and 2 is what the hell, man? It's not even the same game.
And the fact that the community was completely accepting of it. You would almost never see that, like, where it's like, hey guys, we're completely revamping the combat system, like a complete 180-degree turn. And then everyone played it, and new people and old fans of the series were all just like, yep, this is great too. Good job, guys. Yeah, we welcome it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the big thing too when you talk about that bringing on new fans is like The Witcher 2 is so underrated. I mean, it launched around the same time as Skyrim, and Skyrim's a great game, don't get me wrong, but The Witcher is like
better story,
I always tell people to play, it's this whole other level of storytelling and character creation, and it's just so much deeper with the combat system. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. So I hope they can strike that even ground and really just make a game that I want to see more people play their games, is really at the end of the day.
Yeah,
because it's always disappointing when I hear somebody who's like, "Oh, I love Skyrim, I love RPGs. You played The Witcher 2?" No, and I'm like, "Oh, come on."
And I sometimes I'm hesitant to make this comparison, but they really do have like a BioWare level of storytelling.
Oh, they do, man.
Mass Effect 3 withstanding. Let's, put that aside. Obviously, everyone knows Mass Effect 3 was a pile of balls. But there's definitely a comparison to draw between the conversation system is similar, although it's not as clear cut like you see in a BioWare title, where this is the blue decision and this is the red decision. It's like, no, you're going to make decisions, and sometimes because of those decisions, shit's going to happen. It's a very mature adult game, and I absolutely just love that aspect of it, that there's no hand holding going on, even with like doing quests and stuff like that. There's not, you can't press a magic button and see a trail of breadcrumbs of where you need to go. Like, you need to take out a map, or even I remember Witcher 2, I actually had a physical map that I had to take out. All right, where I need to go northeast. All right, that's where I got to go. All right. And that was great because it brought back some of that nostalgia from older games where you had to do that kind of stuff. And it made it, I don't know how to describe it, but it basically took the game world and then involved that within your real world as well, as you had to sit there and navigate on maps. It was so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely a lost sense of gaming, using maps and stuff like that. I think when games can even make you consider doing that, it's like they've done something right, because that is it just feels great to do something like that. It's like it's like, why did you send me the map, Skyrim?
Yeah, decoration.
why did you bother giving it to me? It's like, I want to use this thing. I want to have it sprawled out in front of me with the controller in my left hand, fumbling about, trying to figure out how to get to Stormwind or whatever. So
like in Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
man, you needed a map to play that game. If you didn't have that map, you were fucked.
Yeah, you'd wander for hours through the same zone.
It's
over
like, why does everything look the
enemies.
same? Because it all looks the same. That's why.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think we could both agree that delays are probably a good thing, and hopefully that all these games come out and they're all as good as we're expecting them to be and wanting them to be, because I want some good games to play, because 2014 was such a letdown for me. The games that were good were games that I didn't really expect to be on my top list, and I think that was a testament just how many of the big AAA titles were just absolutely terrible. Like Shovel Knight was one of my top games from last year, and I didn't even know that it was coming. Divinity Original Sin, another one. It was just wow, what
amazing,
a game,
man.
So I'm looking forward to, even though those games were great, I'm looking forward to seeing big AAA titles, be good again, and not just cash grabs.
Exactly, they need to step it up, because this year is already great for the smaller games. I don't know if you played Darkest Dungeon. I'm obsessed with that game already. Outstanding for an early access title. I can't even believe it is early access. It's like a full game. But we're already seeing small games, like you said last year, like with Shovel Knight already launching this year, that are great. So it's like AAA.
And there's a new Shovel Knight coming out as well this year. Forgot about
more
that.
Shovel Knight. Yeah, Hotline Miami 2 just dropped. Been playing that, already, man.
Yep. Game is really, really violent and disgusting, and apparently no one has a problem with it, despite they have the problem with that other game. What is it, Hatred?
The Hatred
one.
It's
why do you have a problem with this but not Hotline Miami?
Yeah, I guess it's all about the press manipulation and how things are presented. It's how we all view them. Whereas Hotline Miami, they've always done, Denaton's always just done such a good job of putting the game out and being like, this is what it is, this is what we're going for.
Yeah, I was playing the other day and I beat a priest to death with a hammer.
Yeah, it makes me feel sick at times, but I keep playing.
You're just like, wow, that's really violent.
Yeah.
It's like, where did that come from? But it's good though, and I've been enjoying Hotline Miami too. I might do a video on that in the coming weeks. I'm not really sure.
Oh, the music in it too is just it overwhelms you on every sensory level.
Yeah,
you're just sitting there. Your eyes are all there's the lighting going. All the guys trying to focus on, and the music's just in your eardrums, just thumping away.
And the difficulty, wow, it's hard as shit.
I'm still stuck on when you break out of the prison. I'm still dealing with that one spot.
Oh yeah.
I can't get past it. So the difficulty is definitely there. It's an experience, that game, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think everyone should really check out Hotline Miami 2 and at least give it a go. That one or the first one. If you haven't played the first one, you should definitely try them both, I think.
Yeah, definitely start there, difficulty wise.
Play the first one, move on to the second one, because they're both really, really hard. Not sure which one's harder at this point though. I haven't really decided on that. But all right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for gaming news that we have today and our commentary there on the delays. The one last thing I did want to bring up is the NVIDIA Titan X, which is coming out very soon to rape the wallets of gamers. across the globe, even though it's not really a gaming card. It's really like a server grade card, but gamers are going to buy it anyway. Why? Because they can say, I have a Titan X and I spent $1,000 on it and you didn't. But the Titan X is coming out and I expect gamers to buy it in droves. I certainly won't be buying one. Spoiler alert, guys, I just ordered some 980s. You guys didn't know that, but I just bought some 980s, so yeah, that's coming. But
it's the better choice at the end of the day for those of us who can't afford 2 Ferraris on a weekly basis.
And actually, one thing is, I got the EVGA 980s, and I was really happy to see that they actually have something called a step up program. So, let's say you have a 90-day basically grace period. If they come out with a better, like a new card, like if they were to come out like a 1080 or an 8GB 980 in the next 90 days, I can contact EVGA and they will upgrade me.
That's awesome.
That's a great program. Everyone should be doing that. Like Intel should be doing that for sure, because processors are coming out like every 6 months practically.
Yeah.
But that was like, and you just have to pay. You just have to pay the difference based on what the card is selling for now, the new one, and then like what you paid retail when you bought it. So, because I was hesitant about getting them because like, oh, they're going to come out with 8GB 980s even though there's nothing announced. But now at least I'm covered for 90 days. Watch them come out on the 91st day.
So you call and talk to customer service. I need to speak to a manager.
It's like, yeah, I would be absolutely gutted. But back to looking at the Titan X, we don't have actually any confirmed specs at this time, except for we do know it's going to be 12GB of RAM, which is just a absolutely ridiculous frame buffer. Like you better, if you're buying this for 1080p gaming, first off, you're an idiot. Second, you better have like 600 fucking Skyrim mods running simultaneously. Otherwise, you're a complete imbecile.
6 monitors.
Yeah, otherwise, you're an imbecile. I'm sorry. There's no reason to be buying a Titan X unless you have a ridiculous like triple 4K monitor setup or something to that effect, and loads of Skyrim mods. Because I don't know why people need 12 gigs of RAM.
You're trying to build a time machine on your computer or something. I don't know, man. That's just that's mental.
It does. They did redesign the cooler, the stock cooler on it, though. They made it black, which is pretty nice. Looks pretty cool, I think. But I like
cards always look sick, at least. Yeah, I always love the appearance of them.
Yeah, the reference cards look amazing from NVIDIA. Complete opposite end of what they do with AMD, where the cards look like a plastic black box.
You'd never buy the reference cards. That's for sure. Those things are always hideous. It's like,
from AMD anyway.
Yeah, from AMD, exactly.
Yeah, the NVIDIA ones are sexy though, like sexy silver box. They're actually better in a lot of ways. I've been looking at a lot of stuff about that, and I'm going to be covering that in some videos actually with aftermarket cards versus reference cards and why I went with those in a future video. But as far as other than the 12 gigs of video memory, these are all speculated specs right here. 3072 CUDA cores, core clock of 1002, boost clock is still not known, to be decided, I guess. Memory clock of 1750, which is the same as the Titan Black. 384-bit memory bus, so nothing changing there really. A lot of the specs are really very similar to the Titan Black, but because it's on the Maxwell architecture, you have to remember that the CUDA cores are roughly 40% faster than what was on Kepler. So it's definitely going to be faster. It's going to be more power efficient, but still the same price, clocking it at $999 when they do come out. And it's going to be interesting to see what kind of people are picking these up. We've got some benchmarks here that I'm looking at for 3D Firestrike. You can see, where is it? The Titan X. 17,470 score compared to 980s in SLI, which got 25,192. So 980s in SLI still to me looks like a much better option than getting a Titan X. The only reason you should be getting a Titan X is if you really need that 12GB frame buffer, but that's such a small niche amount of gamers that actually need that buffer. You have anything to add, Tony?
Yeah, I mean that's just the one thing I've always had the issue with the PC industry and NVIDIA with those cards to me, and same thing with AMD releasing like their $1,000 cards. It's like there's such a lack of focus on optimizing what we already currently have in terms of power, and then we just keep adding more instead, and that always has driven me crazy. It's like I don't want to spend more. I don't want more. I just want what I have to work more efficiently and to be more effective. Yeah. But that doesn't make money, so.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely see what you're saying, and. Yeah, I'm definitely not getting Titan X's. I know one guy that's going to be getting a Titan X, even though he already has 2 980s, because he just buys every card that comes out, and I don't get it. But whatever, it's his money. He can do whatever he wants with it.
He's going to build a robot out of GeForce cards.
The thing is, he doesn't even like play a lot of games. He just like benchmarks them and then just looks at them.
He's a hot rodder then, I guess. I remember that was the first time I was introduced into PC gaming, actually. It was a buddy of mine had a dad who was a PC hot rodder, like back in the mid-90s. This dude had like, just this PC that with like all the lights in it and stuff. I remember being like blown away, and he kept doing that. I think he still does, but like when Doom 3 came out, I was like over his house running the thing at like 200 frames, like max, everything.
Yeah.
And it was just like, yeah, I don't. Some people, I guess, are it's like building that really fast car that sits in the garage all the time.
It's like, why are you overclocking that? Because I can.
Exactly, because I can. Because it hasn't melted down yet.
Not yet. Oh man. All right, so I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of Slunt Tech. But before we go ahead and wrap it up, I want to turn one more question over to Tony, which I've asked every guest on this show this year so far, and you weren't expecting this, so I hope you got a list in your head already. But I want to know really quick, your top 3 games for 2015 that we know are coming out, still to come this year. What are your top 3 games coming out so far? Coming out for the rest of the year?
This is actually easy. I got this. So Bloodborne, I know it's a console exclusive, but I love everything that Matsusuke makes. I love Dark Souls, so that's instantly just boom on my list. Definitely Witcher 3. I mean, Witcher 3 without a doubt. And there's a very small part of me that really, really hopes that we get the first episode of the Squadron 42 release for Star Citizen. So those are my 3 big ones, without a doubt. Not sure about the third one. Probably won't happen until next year because it's Star Citizen. But
Star Citizen is going to be still a while off, but everyone's excited about it.
For at least that pre-alpha release. And yeah, those would be my big 3. I mean, it's like when I try and think about it, it's like, what's coming out?
Yeah,
but
it's hard because we don't really know that much as far as... We know some games that are speculated for the end of the year, but... it seems like a lot of them we don't really know for sure and probably won't until E3, until we know what the last 6 months of the year is really going to involve. I mean, we know we got GTA 5, Project Cars, Witcher 3, and Hardline coming out in the next couple months, but that's pretty much it until next year, at least on the PC side of things.
Yeah, everything else is... I mean, apparently we're going to see the new Zelda this year. I guess I should replace the Star Citizen with that one, because that's a for sure. And I'm a huge Zelda nerd, so...
That's a Nintendo, man. That's even below console peasant there. It's
It's terrible.
It's like PC, console peasant, portable, mobile, Nintendo. That's
what I grew up with, though. That's why I walk around with a Link tattoo on my arm.
Well, I grew up playing it too, but I don't know. I've lost interest over the years.
It is, yeah. It's fallen off recently. I mean, it was Smash Brothers and Mario Kart, and I had a Wii U sitting around because my mom's a huge gamer, and so I ended up buying her one for her birthday, and she was playing like nothing because nothing was coming out. But now there's that, like Xenoblade Universe is coming out, so there's some decent looking stuff on there that I'm looking forward to playing. But Nintendo's still got their head in the dirt somewhere for the most part.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, E3 is only a few months away, so hopefully, around then, be able to do a podcast and talk about all the games that we know are coming out in the last half of 2015. But that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Slunt Tech. I want to thank you for joining, Tony. I think you did great. Hopefully, we can have you back in the future if you enjoyed.
I would love that. Thanks for being here. I mean, this was great. Didn't expect us to be able to talk this much on this topic. It's always nice when you get to get together with somebody and talk about games or anything for that matter for this amount of time.
Yeah, and I've been noticing recently that my audience is definitely subscribing more, I think, for my gaming commentaries and content more so than my hardware stuff. So trying to make a shift more towards gaming-related stuff. So I want to try to keep Slunt Tech as much on the ball with gaming discussions as I can. So that's why it was great to have you over here, because that's your channel is all about gaming pretty much. You don't really do too much hardware stuff. So it was good to have someone with your level of expertise on the Joker Productions channel for gaming. But yeah, like I said, that's going to wrap it up, guys. Don't forget to check out Tony's channel, which there'll be links to in the description below and on your screen and stuff right now. So thanks again, Tony, for joining us. And
thank you.
I'll catch you guys next time. Cheer up.